Take 6. Hello. Welcome back to TSC Talks, the podcast where we talk about tuberous sclerosis complex and other related issues, such as intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism. My name is Jill Woodworth, and I'm your host. Thanks for tuning in. This is part 2 with Jaye Isham. He is the VP of Communication Strategies at the TS Alliance. Hope you enjoyed the last episode with him, and he gets into a little more detail here as far as what's going on at the TS Alliance. He talks a little bit about his personal life. We kind of go back and forth with personal life and TSC world, so there's a lot here. I really, I can't say enough about Jay. I felt his passion, and as someone who is not personally impacted by TSC in any way, he is as much a part of our community as anyone else is, and he is working on our behalf passionately, purposefully, on a daily basis. So I really want to thank him for that. And I want to share that my next upcoming guest is Adriana Piltz. She is the founder and CEO of Nikki's Gardens of Hope, creating permanent residences for adults with IDD and autism. So that's next, and there's more coming down the pike. I've got interviews lined up. If you want to be on the podcast, give me a shout, tsctalks.com or on Facebook. You can find me, and I'm going to stop talking now because I've recorded this several times, and I really want to let Jay talk. So take it away, Jay. Hello, Jill here, hoping that you'll consider making a small donation to the ongoing production efforts and support this podcast on our website, tsctalks.com. There's various places to press the donate button and use PayPal. We'd appreciate your support. We've produced 50 episodes with more on the way, quality content that's affecting change in our TSC and broader communities. So please consider making a donation. Would really appreciate it. What else you got that you're proud of?
Well, one of the cool things that's happening right now is this research business plan. And just in general for your listeners, we had a board member who a year or so ago asked Kari and Lisa Moss, who's our, head of fundraising, if you could just have a big chunk of change, what would that number be? And what would you do with it? So over the next year, they started devising, they came up with a number, and we'll see if it's feasible or not. If we had $56 million over 5 years, we can do A, B, C, D, and E, and F. And if we do A through F, we think we can literally change the course of TSC. So wow. If anyone wants to kind of get more information about this, they can go to the homepage on our website, and down in the news section, there's a thing, something titled TS Alliance releases 5-year research business plan. So there was this huge document of the business plan that Steve and Kari put together way before I saw anything. And they sent it to me, and they were like, can you edit it? And I kind of read through it, and I fixed a couple of typos and just things like that. I didn't mess with the content too much. And it was like really intense science stuff. And I remember reading it, putting it down, and going, holy crap, this is amazing. And then I went back and read it again, and I was like, holy crap, this is totally amazing if we can do this. So I was so blown away about the possibilities. And so they sent it out to this board member or whatever, and he came back and he's like, this is all great, but it's way too sciencey. So he asked Kari, can you hire a writer to do this? And she said, well, we have a writer on staff. His name is Jay. Let's give it to him. So she gave this to me.
Oh boy.
And Steve gave it to me. And I remember being more intimidated than I've ever been in my entire career. And
really?
I'm 57 now, and I was just like, how can I possibly take this stuff that's so important, so high level, and like pare it down? So off I went, and
what'd you do?
I just went line by line. And
line by line.
The first thing we realized was there was way too much detail. So beyond the science language, which was written at a very high science level for other PhDs and doctors and those people. So one of my challenges was, how do you simplify the language? The other was, it needs to be pared down from, I forget how many pages it is, to like 30. So I literally just went sentence by sentence by sentence. And, the first thing I did was just whack out a bunch of stuff that I didn't think we needed. And I sent that draft back to Kari and Steve, and that got signed off on. And then it was, okay, now you got to go back and simplify the language. And so I worked on that probably another week. So yeah, I mean, that ended up being like one of the most challenging things I've ever had to write and edit, but the end product was really great. And we incorporated some personal stories. Shelley's story is in there about her kids. And, she's got the one older daughter who has had a lot of challenges, but her youngest is doing so much better, because what we have available now for people with TSC is totally different than what was available when I started in 2004. So this big research thing is coming down the pipe. I'm super psyched about it. And then I'll say the other thing, which isn't really communications specifically, but I think the most gratifying part of working at TS Alliance has been to be able to see the new treatments come online in the last few years. And, when I started, we had an 800 number. We would answer the phone. We would
I remember that.
People. We would hold people's hands. We would connect them with other parents or other adults with TSC, but,
there's not that much you could do.
There was not much we could do. And then in the last few years, vigabatrin was approved, mTOR inhibitors came along, completely changed the landscape. And, I truly believe we're just getting started with treatment. So
I agree.
And to be able to be a part of that, I mean, it's just beyond anything I could ever express, just how cool it is to be in a place, in an organization that's truly helping people today. And
so what was the hook for you? Like, what was the point where you were like, because, I mean, TSC is, complicated, is redundant, but in your career, like, when were you like, wow, I mean, this is really interesting. I mean, what was it that drew you in and kind of pulled you into the...
It didn't happen at first. I mean, when I started, the truth of the matter was,
it was just a job.
It was a job. And,
that's what I'm looking for. Because it's so apparent to me, Jay, that it is way more than a job for everybody that works there.
Yeah. I had always,
I mean, you might not have a brilliant,
no, I don't have that was the day that happened.
Right.
But it was just more
the process.
Of a time of allowing this is going to sound really weird, but allowing my soul to and all of my emotions, to let all of those things go and let down the guard, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, the cool thing is, and I think I mentioned this when I talked in April at the board meeting, was even though those first few years were extremely challenging for many reasons, we weren't the most functional organization back then, but the people, the families were always this constant. And it's like, despite whatever challenges we were having internally, you could go to the March on the Hill, you could go to the regional conferences, and you just, I say this to everybody, you can't go to a walk or a conference or whatever and meet families, adults, and these kids and walk away without being affected. I mean, I just don't see how anybody could do that. And so over time, I began to let myself experience the love, so to speak,
And that's risky because you're going to feel it.
It's
you're
tough
going to feel
because
it.
you can get hurt. And, I have always, my entire career, clear delineations between my personal life and my job. And I didn't socialize with people I work with after hours, and I didn't talk a lot about my personal life with my coworkers. It's just
You kept
who
that
I
balance.
was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just had these very distinct boundaries. And once Kari became CEO, as I mentioned earlier, the whole dynamic of how the board and the staff and the volunteers work together started to change rapidly for the better. And so 2006, Kari wasn't CEO yet, but that was the first, we called them family conferences then, not the World Conference like we had now. That was in Chicago. And I remember going to that, and I'm still in this is just a job mode.
Yep.
For sure. And I remember that Friday night, I'll never forget this. We had this outdoor barbecue. It's the middle of July in Chicago, 190 degrees. It was so hot. And unbeknownst to me at the time, outdoor heat makes kids seize big time. And I remember seeing multiple seizures outside. But what struck me, I had a coworker one time when I worked at hospice who had seizures. And so I had seen seizures. It wasn't that shocked me. What shocked me, and it just hits me in the gut, was how nonchalant this was for parents. And, I won't name the mom, but I just remember her and the dad. Their daughter was on the ground having, what appeared to me a very severe seizure. And it was just totally routine to them. And that moment.
That's powerful.
Was like, that's when I got it. This is life for these people. And for me, that was when I sort of started letting my heart and my emotions open up a little bit. I remember walking away and crying about it. I'm almost crying now.
I can feel it. Once you started talking about this, I started getting a little vibe.
It's like that moment is when it started. And it took a few more years before I completely allowed myself to be immersed in.
It's like falling in love, kind of.
Yeah. And, I think what's so great about our staff is all of us are like that. Every one of us across the board. A little bit different in the way we express it.
Of course.
But then when we had the World Conference in DC and whatever that was, 2014, man, I cried nonstop that whole time. And it just, by then I was just in it forever and am still in it forever. Yep. And it just, and again, I can't say this is the one moment, but over time, this has just become my life's work. And I've been there 15 years now, but it kind of seems like 15 minutes in some respects.
Wow.
And it's so great and to the point now where it's not work. I mean, I'm so fortunate that my skills, which I love to do, benefit the organization in a way that's meaningful. And I'm quite grateful. We all need a paycheck, but for me, it's definitely a mission, and it all comes back to the people that we serve.
Yeah.
And I'm so fortunate that even though what I do for my job doesn't really require me to ever interact, but I'm so fortunate that I have so many opportunities to interact. And so
you're reading through these. I mean, just being online and what you do, even though you're a step behind the scenes, it's still powerful.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky that I allow myself to feel the pain and the heartache and all of those things from the families. I mean, I am never going to truly understand, what it's like to have a child with TSC or to have TSC myself, but I have so much empathy and it's made me such a much better person.
Thank you for being that person that is willing to take that risk.
I get way more out of what I do than I get. That's a fact. And I feel very privileged to have landed somewhere that it is more than a job because